very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
The headlines for you at 8 o'clock this morning. £10,000 fines and 10-year prison sentences. The penalties for breaking travel restrictions. Grant Shapps tells this programme the strict new measures are necessary.
I think the British public would expect pretty strong action.
And the latest measures are a major blow to an industry battling for survival. Good morning. Airports, airlines and travel agents say the future of some firms have been thrown into doubt.
Hundreds of thousands of people living in buildings deemed unsafe since the Grenfell Tower disaster. We'll find out today how the government plans to help them.
Good morning. We've just had the coldest night of the year so far. Minus 17.1 in Altnahara. Today we see further snow showers. There'll be some sunshine in between, not quite as windy, but still feeling cold. I'll have all the details later in the programme.
I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings.
The Texas lawyer trapped by a cat filter on a Zoom call. He had to inform the judge he was not a feline.
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
Good morning. The date is the 10th of February. It's Wednesday morning and the government has defended harsh new penalties for those found breaking new quarantine measures from Monday.
Passengers who break the rules could face fines of £10,000 and up to 10 years in prison. But the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps told Breakfast they were needed. Our
chief political correspondent Adam Fleming joins us now, live from Westminster. Adam, good morning to you. This is, the big story of the morning. And what has the reaction been to those announcements?
So yesterday, I think people were quite surprised, first of all, that the hotel quarantine package will cost £1,750 per person, which is a little bit more than people were expecting. The other thing that leapt out from the statement from the Health Secretary was, as you were saying, the prospect of prison sentences of up to 10 years for people who lie on their forms about whether they've come from one of the red list countries, one of the 33 countries where travel is effectively banned from, unless you're a British national returning home. Some Conservative MPs and some commentators saying that is way more than you would get as a sentence for sometimes crimes that could be even worse than that. But Transport Secretary Grant Shapps was defending it on this programme a little bit earlier.
The British public would expect pretty strong action, because we're not talking now just about, oh, there's a lot of coronavirus in that country and you might bring some more of it back when we already have plenty of it here. What we're talking about now are the mutations, the variants, and that is a different matter.
He was also asked by you guys about when these measures would be lifted, because that's the question lots of Conservative MPs and lots of people in the travel industry are asking. And I was intrigued by what he said. He said, we'll have to wait till everybody in the UK is vaccinated, which could be some time, although he then appeared to backtrack a little bit from that and said it was more about the progress of the vaccination policy. But even more interestingly, he said it also depends on the speed at which other countries are vaccinating their populations too. And I think people will hear that and think foreign travel could be even further off than it felt yesterday.
Yeah, that was certainly one of the takeaways from that interview. Adam Fleming, thank you very much for that. Good to talk to you as ever.
The government is expected to announce more funding to pay for the removal of unsafe cladding on buildings.
Thousands of flat owners have faced huge bills for fire safety measures following the Grenfell Tower disaster. Our Consumer Affairs correspondent Sarah Corker is in the studio with us this morning. And I know, Sarah, good morning to you. You've been following this very closely, haven't you?
Yes, good morning. And the government is under increasing pressure to do more to tackle the cladding crisis and also to protect flat owners from these spiralling costs. Now, ministers have already allocated £1.6 billion to remove dangerous cladding, but it's widely acknowledged that that amount just isn't enough. It's actually estimated it'll cost £15 billion to fix the fault. So ministers have been grappling with new financial solutions. They will be announced later at around lunchtime. But the big questions are just how much extra funding there'll be. It's likely to be millions. How will it be allocated? And also, how will the government determine which are the highest risk blocks? Now, campaigners who have been living in these flammable flats for years now say it's just taking far too long. It's more than 3.5 years since the Grenfell Tower fire, and it's estimated 700,000 people are still living in these buildings. Now, we spoke to Will Martin. He's a junior doctor in Sheffield, and he told us what he's been going through.
Any money that is released to remediate cladding is welcome, but obviously many of the buildings that have got cladding on have got a whole range of other problems that, until funding for those problems are delivered, then leaseholders still won't be able to sell their properties. They'll still be stuck in unsafe properties. I have a £7,000 a week waking watch on my building. People across the country are crying out for help.
Now, it's important to remind you of a bit of the background to all of this. So the Grenfell Tower fire exposed decades of regulatory failure. Safety inspections on other high-rise blocks exposed not just flammable cladding, but other fire safety faults too. So by that I mean defective insulation, flammable balconies, missing fire breaks. And the longer it takes to fix all of that, flat owners are having to pay for all sorts of things. So insurance bills are going up, service charges are going up, they're being asked to pay for fire alarms. And you heard Will there talking about waking watch. Now that's these round-the-clock fire wardens that have to patrol the highest risk buildings. And that's costing some people thousands of pounds. And at the heart really of resolving this crisis is the question of who should pay to fix these faults. Is it government? Is it developers? Is it building owners? Is it leaseholders? At the moment, leaseholders, flat owners like Will are saying they're the ones that are having to pay for all of this. And we will find out what this announcement is, the details to it, from the Housing Minister at lunchtime around 12:30.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you.
In other news this morning, senators in the US have voted to continue Donald Trump's impeachment trial after he was accused of inciting the mob which stormed the Capitol building last month. The former president's lawyers argued that the process was unconstitutional because he was no longer in office, but 6 Republicans joined Democrats in voting to carry on. If he's convicted, Mr. Trump could be barred from holding office again.
There have been a few Zoom fails during lockdown, but this could be the biggest catastrophe.
A virtual court hearing in the US state of Texas. And what happened was the lawyer accidentally appeared on screen as a wide-eyed kitten. Here's Mark LaBelle.
Meet the 69-year-old Texan attorney who unintentionally addressed this virtual courtroom as a cat.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
Court attorney Rod Ponton pleaded his case of mistaken identity minutes after he logged on from his secretary's computer to defend the state of Texas in this civil forfeiture case.
And everybody's face popped up except mine. Mine was a cat. And I thought, oh, she had it there, a child had it there. She doesn't know, and I don't know. It just miraculously appeared.
After that, the verdict of the judge was to release this normally secretive footage, now seen by millions.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
This latest internet star, who also appears on Netflix representing possibly the biggest criminal justice hoaxer in history, is not the type to let the cat out of the bag. But
you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. You know, if it's gone out and it's gone viral, let it go.
And that's for real. Mark LaBelle, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.